Hey, how's it going, PC members? In this video, I'm going to go over Sympathy Momentum. Now, what is it? How can I trade it? And how do I know when it's ending? This is a really efficient tool when it comes to day trading, especially in hot markets. This can spark a hot market. Sectors are crazy. So what is Sympathy Momentum and how do we trade it? All that and more coming right up. So I'm not sure why it is, but I've definitely been seeing a lot more sympathy plays compared to recent markets. Now, it's nothing new that certain sectors can get hot, right? The government could pass a clean energy bill, and or a marijuana bill. There's tons of certain stocks. Earnings season, say some big tech does really well. So there's a lot of reasons that could lead to sympathy plays. As of recently, it's been the last 2 years. Short squeeze candidates, a lot of hype stocks. Right, we've seen recently BBBY had a big run. Ape, obviously, we had some plays there. Even AMC, there was a slight run up this last month. So we've been seeing kind of that sector. However, in February, we had a super hot week where I was able to clear almost 50,000 because of the energy sector. Now, I think a lot of it led to expectations of gas prices going through the roof with the current administration and shutting down certain pipelines and whatever it might be. But there was an expectation that gas was going to go through the roof. And this is where prices started to heavily increase. Now, what we saw a lot of these energy stocks just skyrocket. And we're seeing that happen again. So if I scroll back to February, this is mid-February or late February, it went from $5 up to highs of $87. Wow. And then we saw this was INDO. And then we had double P that went from 50 cents up to $9.50, $10. We had a member Capone on that at around $1. HUSA, same thing. It went from 140 up to 20. And this was all within a kind of the same amount of time. If you guys look, it's literally within the same week of them all popping off. That's called sympathy momentum. And notice they were energy, stocks. So we're starting to see that again, the rise of the energy sector. HUSA, if I go back to INDO and IMPP, you can see that this week they've had a good week. IMPP not so much. Now, how to effectively trade them is kind of tricky. So a lot of people like to trade the main one, which generally leads to be the most expensive one. For example, GME, was a short squeeze candidate. The short squeeze stocks were actually a hot sector. It went from $3 up to $125. But personally, for me, I want to trade sympathy plays based off of that one. I did trade a little AMC. I still thought it was a little too, I didn't really like the price action that much. And then they halted shares. We weren't able to trade certain amount of shares. And it was quite ridiculous. So stuck in a halt going down, which, yada, yada. I was the one to try to find the sympathy plays. In order to find the sympathy plays, you have to be kind of quick on your feet. You have to find, what are the other stocks in the sector that are already starting to move a little bit, but haven't exploded quite like the other ones. And in this case, it was KOSS. This could be the next day. This can be the same day. This can even be the next week. But if you start to see a stock within the same sector curl up, I hop on that like flies on crap. I usually size in this one, KOSS. I was watching it after GME and AMC had that short squeeze, and I knew this was another candidate. And what happened was it went from $4 up to $20 one day. I'm like, okay, let me watch that into tomorrow. Broke the high at 14, squeezed up to 25. I'm like, oh, that's a good play. And then squeezed up to 50, 60, 70. I bought massively at 70 and sold for a push over 100 and 150, making, I don't even remember how much I made in this one. And this one, if you look at the days, was actually a few days after the big explosion. I like to trade the sympathy plays, and I usually find the cheaper ones. Now, in the case of INDO in that sector, IMPP was great. right? It went from a few pennies up to $10. But honestly, I was more of an HUSA guy because this was once a penny stock, and HUSA was kind of in my comfortable area, the $2 to $15 range. So I ended up trading that one and clearing a lot on it. Now, for me, again, I like to trade plays based off of the main one. INDO is the main one. GME is the main. There's always one main stock that explodes that sparks the hot sector. For example, recently, Chinese IPOs have been super hot, super hot. And what started it? HKD. HKD went from 50 up to $2,500. And if you could tell, this is a Chinese IPO. That sparked a hot sector. It's crazy. Chinese IPOs were going ballistic. MEGL went from 50 up to 250. I'm missing one, but recently there was STBX that kind of failed to meet expectations. You find that in my GCT. Thank you, sir. We'll look at GCT. GCT was a good one. Now, it wasn't as good as the other ones, but still was good. What I found is when there's a hot sector and literally everyone and their mom are talking about it, we saw how hyped up STBX was. For example, this is a perfect example. When the small cap cryptos were going parabolic in last May, April-May range, what did we see? We saw Jason Derulo talk about his favorite altcoins and ones he's investing in. What the heck does Jason Derulo know about crypto? Absolutely nothing. Now, I don't want to make assumptions for him, but I can tell you right now he did not know anything about it, given the picks he had at the prices they were. Not saying I'm any more qualified in the crypto realm than Jason Derulo, but when you see someone stepping out of their line, if you will, or something just so obnoxiously hyped up, that usually is the end of the hot sector, if you will. In this example, it was STBX. We saw every single person, it felt like all 60-something thousand kids in our Discord were talking about the same stock. Like STBX, where are we buying it, how much we buying, when we buying, and it honestly underperformed because it, when it fails to meet expectations, traders tend to bail out fairly quickly. Now, there was a play someone made in our group, under 1,000%, Cascade, I think, or something like that. So, he was still able to take advantage of it, but he had to get in pre-IPO. Once I think IPOs, it's fair game, and a lot of traders took profit very quickly. And we haven't seen a Chinese IPO spark since. Now, again, this was 2 days ago or yesterday, so we're going to give it some time and see how the next one performs. But if I were to guess, this is probably nearing the end of the hot Chinese IPO sectors. It's just is what it is. And ironically enough, when Jason Derulo made those videos, literally I think 2 days after, the market started to massively correct. So that is how to tell what is a hot sector. You see multiple stocks within the same sector passing. How this happens is certain bills can be signed, certain hype within social media or groups can really start it. Certain candidates can create short squeezes and whatnot. We try to not trade the main one. I like to trade the sympathy plays based off of the main one. In this case, I wanted to trade BBBY, was a sympathy play based off of AMC and some of the other hotter stocks. But then how to tell when it's over, and I told you guys I was going to be trading STVX very lightly. I think I had 100 share buy orders. And that's because I had a feeling, I've seen this happen multiple times, where so many people were hyped up about a certain stock, it just fails to meet expectations every time. Sell the hype, kind of, or buy the hype, sell the news type deal. And once it IPOs, it's kind of the news, and that's exactly what happened. So that's how I trade them. Sympathy plays can be awesome. You can make a lot of money. I try to find the ones that meet my requirements as far as float, as far as price per share, as far as volume on the day. I don't like trading the main one usually because whatever the main one does, all the rest follow. And if I could just watch the main one, generally it's already overextended. a lot of traders are trying to find the next big jump. And if I can hop on a sympathy play quickly, you can make a lot of money. DWAC was kind of the same thing. Yes, it was. DWAC. It was we saw a lot of conservative stocks pop off. We also saw a lot of black-owned businesses pop off during the Black Lives Matter protest last year, or was it 2 years ago? I can't remember. DWAC was went from 11 up to 200, but we saw a lot of these conservative stocks pop off, and a lot of things can create hot sectors. It can be anything, literally any sector, you name it. I mean, black-owned businesses was one, actually, believe it or not. We saw stocks rip 500% because there was a black CEO. And likewise of this one, there was conservative CEOs and owners. So literally anything could be a hype sector. Not saying there's anything wrong with any hype sectors. I'm willing to trade them. I just like to find the ones that are have not yet exploded based off of the main one. If that makes sense. Alrighty, so what questions do you guys have about sympathy momentum, how I trade it, how I identify it, how I know roughly when we're near the end, when to move on, anything I can answer. Feel free to raise your hand in the podcast studio we're in, or just throw them in the premium chat. I'll give you guys a minute. Is there a quick way to find sympathy stocks? Now, generally, I sift through my scanner, starting from the bottom up, the top 10 or whatever, and I find them within the same sector. Like I said, you can hop really quickly on them if you do your research and say, okay, what are candidates? However, in the energy sector, there's so many stocks, and it's really rare to pick the exact one that traders are going to hop on next. So I like to see stocks within the same sector that already start to push up 20 to 30 to 50%. And it's very easy to identify them once they hit your scanner. And then you just see what sector they're in or why they're running. So long story short, really I don't trade them until they hit my scanner, just because, like I talked about, there's so many stocks within the energy sector. You can buy 100 shares of each, and then one might run. It's hard to find the next candidate until it already starts to make a move, and then from there you can jump on it. Yeah, so sometimes it's easier to identify them than others. Trying to think of when I did that. Yeah, I just you can look up short squeeze candidates, right? And there's a laundry list of them, and it's really hard to find what the next one will be. So you already want to see it starting to move to the upside, and you can still get on it fairly quickly. I just wait. This is my form of finding confirmation. If that makes sense. But the more niche down the hot sector, the easier it is. So energy is a big sector. Tech stocks with a black CEO is a lot smaller sector and easier to pull from. Conservative stocks, that one wasn't as hard. What are some other hot? Chinese IPOs. It's pretty easy to identify because you look at a list of IPOs and what one are Chinese or Asian. I think one was from Malaysia, the STBX, so it wasn't quite in China. So the more niche they are, the easier it is to identify them, if that makes sense. But like I said, short squeeze candidates or some of the other hype sectors I've seen. There was one where camera companies, for some reason, we saw KODK and a lot of other of these sympathy plays. That was easier to identify, right? Because how many publicly traded camera companies are there? Not many. So the more niche down, the better, if that makes sense. But like I said, okay, let me find some short squeeze candidates. Wow, there's a lot of companies that are heavily shorted. What one do I choose? Alrighty, y'all. Is there any other questions I could answer about Sympathy Momentum? I still have my one share of Ape Long. I'll sell it over $1,500 a share. Can't wait to do that. I'm just kidding. I still have my one share, but alrighty, y'all. Is there anything else I can answer on this group lesson? Tomorrow, Corey will be handling the It'll be more than likely another mindset mastery. Some of the stuff that we think is important as we build the course out. We really want to drill a lot of certain things in your mind to start thinking, expanding more beyond. Yes, we are a trading group, but it's time to start expanding onto other things. For example, we just partnered with a commercial real estate company, and they are collaborating with us on building a bomb real estate course. And literally I'm starting from zero credit, zero money, all the way up to multi-units. So we got a lot we're gonna do. Alrighty, y'all. Well, I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Sorry for the tardiness. I wasn't expecting 100 phone calls right when I planned to do this lesson. We are going to start planning the group lessons weeks in advance and having calendars out for you guys, Sunday nights, so you guys can start seeing exactly and preparing your questions. I feel by dropping the bomb on you guys like the day, hey, this is what we're going over, it's good, but it's hard to bring questions when you can maybe do some research beforehand. And with that being said, 8 to the moon, guys. I will catch you tomorrow morning in our trading session. Have a good day, team.